Hi, I'm Anaka, and welcome to a trip to the gallery where we'll be reviewing the biggest and best movies. Today, we'll be reviewing A24's latest release, The Iron Claw. So get ready to dive into this wrestling epic with me.
Mom tried to protect us with God. Pop tried to protect us with wrestling. He said if we were the toughest, the strongest, nothing could ever hurt us. I believed him. We all did.
So by now you probably know what the film is all about, but if you didn't know, here's a quick overview. The story follows four brothers, Kevin, Kerry, David, and Mike, and it's mainly told from Kevin's perspective. We see their quest for success in the wrestling industry, strongly pushed by their father, Fritz. A recurring motif in the film is the Von Erich curse, which seemingly haunts the family and thwarts their progression at every step. And given the outcome of these brothers, there's definitely some validity to this belief. We watch their ascendancy in the wrestling world, their personal relationships, battles with overbearing parents, and the unfortunate trauma that the family suffers. Now, if you're gonna go watch the film, I recommend you do the same and save the research until after. However, I didn't want to go into this film blind about the wrestling industry as a whole, so I did a little bit of research. Oh, so obviously I'm an amateur at wrestling. So that's why I've got my PW world champion, Carlo Cash Money Cannon in the building.
I'm Carlo Cash Money Cannon, and I'm the Malaysian Pro Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. I've been wrestling for 20 years, and I'm the head trainer here at Vicious Pursuit Pro Wrestling Academy, and we run this school for the past 10 years.
So obviously I'm pretty new to the world of wrestling. Do you want to give us a rundown on what it's all about?
Sure.
Yeah.
Look, essentially wrestling is like a live action show, like a very physical soap opera.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of other sports, they're playing to win. We're here to make sure that you leave entertained and feeling something. So I'm gonna kick him in the face, put him through a table, throw you around. Yeah, it's entertaining. It just hurts a lot.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
So the story of course follows these brothers and their careers in wrestling. They follow their father's footsteps, desperate to meet his relentless expectations. However, the sport of wrestling is mainly a vessel for the themes of trauma, difficult family dynamics, domineering parents, and a misguided sense of masculinity. Despite that, the director Sean Durkee does keep wrestling at the heart of everything, even addressing a common critique of the sport and its authenticity. So there's a scene in the movie where the main protagonist's love interest calls wrestling fake and he tries to combat that. What do you think, or how do you feel when people call wrestling fake?
I think fake is the wrong word. I think it's what people think of straight away, but it's the wrong word. Like the first thing, I mean, you can see that's from breaking my arm in a match, that's from tearing my bicep. And when I got injured both times, I continued. What happens in the ring is like, yes, are we trained to land properly? Yes. Are we hitting them not to kill them? Yes, we're here to entertain the audience, right? It's a very physical soap opera. It's like, think of a stuntman going out there, doing all his own stunts, knowing all his own lines, getting only one take to do it in front of a live audience wearing nothing but spandex.
That's a lot.
It's one of those things where, much like a movie, much like reality TV, there's a certain amount of time where you just need to suspend your belief and just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. When you really get down to it, Iron Claw is about two things, wrestling and family. The very opening scene shows an empty wrestling ring, followed by the father Fritz greeting his wife and 3 young boys after his match. His attitude and motivations are established instantly when he tells his 3 young boys he'll do anything to become world champion. His tough persona is clear to see, as well as the overbearing presence he has over his sons. Although their father Fritz has met some success, we still see the parent living their failed dreams through their child trope. It's clear to see that these kids were locked in to be wrestlers from the beginning, and no amount of reasoning or rebellion could have changed that. As with most cases, we will never know if these kids truly wanted to wrestle or just didn't know any different. However, you cannot deny Kevin's commitment to becoming world champion. So much of the protagonist's motivation is to become a heavyweight champion. How do you do that in this industry?
So to become a world champion or a champion of any company, it's not necessarily being the best athlete or being the fastest or the strongest, right? There's certain elements that you use to kind of get yourself to that next level. There's aspects in terms of like your size and look. There's your entertainment and charisma and promo skills, and then there's your actual moveset. And if you have all 3, you're probably like The Rock or you're Stone Cold or you're John Cena. Or if you're lacking in one, you need an abundance of the 2. Like for instance, Rey Mysterio isn't the tallest, but his charisma, even through a mask, is incredible. There's a whole bunch of elements to becoming this. So you could be the best wrestler in the world, but if you can't talk or you can't sell tickets, no one's going to pay to see you. So you got to be able, it's called the wrestling business, not the wrestling hobby. And businesses make money.
Business is money.
Right?
Yeah.
So you got to be business.
Yeah, you got to stand on business.
Exactly right.
As we've learned from the film, as well as Carlo, this industry is all about entertainment. This becomes a point of contention for Kevin and his father, as he is a great athlete, but can't sell a fight. So what you're talking about is Kevin Von Erich in this movie, who's played by Zac Efron. He left all his charisma of dancing and, talking and talent in High School Musical, and when he's on stage, he actually can't talk, and then that's when his brother grabs the mic and has to compensate for that. Is that a good example?
To an extent, yes. So essentially, he is a fantastic athlete and had great charisma, but selling the fight and pumping up, it wasn't his strength. But his brother obviously could and just took control. And it wasn't that he was undermining him, but it's for the benefit of the show. That's why a lot of wrestlers will have, guys that can't necessarily talk might have a manager or a valet that gets on the microphone and talks for them. Guys like in current era of Paul Heyman, who is incredible on the mic, where he could just have a gigantic monster next to him and he can just talk and sell the fight for you.
The most violent, the most diabolical, the most dangerous, a beast slayer, a conqueror's conqueror, the goat of all goats.
You have to understand, like, you're in front of a live audience with one take, and you have to deliver and sell after you've been fighting for 15, 20 minutes where you could be out of breath or in legitimate pain, and you have to try to sell the next fight.
It's all about being a performer, and we all know a performer is a strong, chiseled man in spandex. Luckily, that version of unrealistic masculinity isn't realistic anymore. Fritz is the most on-the-nose depiction of outdated masculinity, but we see the real men don't cry attitude displayed everywhere. From David toughening up through his health problems, which ends up being to his detriment, to Carrie fighting his mental health problems and feeling alone in that, it's clear to see that the boys have been taught to fight through their problems, metaphorically and physically. This is reiterated when Kevin injures himself in a match, and Fritz is far more concerned about his son's lackluster performance over his son's well-being. It can't be denied, wrestling has a historic relationship with the idea of masculinity. Whether it be the sprinkles of misogyny we saw in the older days,
Bark like a dog, come on, tell me you're sorry.
or just good old-fashioned violence that young boys seemingly can't get enough of. Obviously, there's a greater focus on safety now, and that die-hard man-up attitude is nowhere near as prominent. But as we heard from Carlo, these wrestlers still put entertainment first, and will go through a whole lot of pain to keep that going.
We're taught how to land and break fall to protect ourselves as best as possible, right? But when you get dropped on your neck from 6 feet, there's no real training to help you land on your neck from 6 feet. You just kind of grit and bear it and push through. So.
And is it like the difference between normal sports and this? It's like you have to build resistance, almost like calluses on your hands when you're working constantly.
Exactly.
Your body becomes like resistant to the constant like banging, force and trauma. And, like,
Literally, like, you took the words right out of my mouth.
various characters speak of the Von Erich curse, and you can almost feel the overlooming dread building as the film progresses. It creates a constant sense of unease when you're just waiting for something awful to happen. This is what makes the brief moments of joy shared between the brothers so pure and enriching. The tragedies continue to pile up on the family, and you have to constantly remind yourself that this is a real story, and this really happened to a real family. Now, a lot of these tragedies could be attributed to how the wrestling industry was run at the time, but it's great to hear that it's come on leaps and bounds since. So anyone who's seen the film knows how tragic it is. Like, everyone in the cinema was crying. Do you think the industry is in a better place now from when it was then?
I think the business is definitely in a much better place now. I think there's a lot more safety precautions. There's concussion protocols. It's a more inclusive and more accepting industry. Back then they were on the road so much, and they would take, a heavy drug use. Do you mean they would take uppers, they would take downers, just to be able to perform, then try to sleep, and then obviously they want to look a certain way, so steroids are something that's prominent there. Industry these days is a lot more, it's more controlled to an extent. I guess in every other industry, there are stuff like that still happens, and I think there'll be exceptions to the rule, but if you're comparing it from then to now, it's a very different industry, and I think it's a lot safer and a lot healthier environment than it used to be.
So my goal for today is to leave at least being able to do one move. Yeah, is there any move you can show me?
Yeah, I'll got one for you.
Okay.
Hey, Emma, come here. Just come here real quick.
Oh. You okay?
All right, so we'll teach you how to do the body slam.
Yeah.
Emma, Maddie, you can come over here. So the way we'll do it is, let's go over together. You stand over here. Yep. So you're gonna put your left hand on the trap, and then you're gonna flick this over. Good, get in nice and close. Now you're gonna get your right arm, and you're gonna get as deep as you can, and you are gonna turn and use your legs to lift. Don't lift with your arms, use your legs, because they're stronger, right? So when you pick them up, just turn and lift, right?
This is really intimate. Okay.
Boom, now you're gonna put your left hand over his head, and you slam it down. Ready, slam it. Good job. You nice. That's good. I think he's got one more in him. Let's do one more.
Okay.
Ready? Yeah. Let's try again. Ready? Yeah. Trap. Okay. Flick his arm over. Get in deep. Use your legs. Oh, no. And then slam him.
What? My bad. We thought it was fantastic. But the whole point of this was to find out what a real wrestler thought about the movie. So as a wrestler, you've obviously been in the industry for like over 20 years. Do you think the Iron Claw did a good job at representing the industry, or?
Yeah, look, I think the depiction of not only the story, but the wrestling is quite good. Like, if you watch the interviews and stuff with Zac Efron and all the other cast, they have a greater respect for wrestling and understand how hard and tough it is on the body. Yeah. I think the depiction of what they actually had to train, and they trained with one of the greatest of all time, which is Chavo Guerrero. And as actors, they understood it, but also the roles that they played, I think, was a great depiction of what wrestling is like. And I think it protects a lot of what we do and kind of gives people the understanding of how hard this is. It's guys that love this and are passionate and put their bodies on the line every single night. They go out there for the entertainment of the audience. And I think when people understand that's what wrestling is, you can appreciate it. And I think that's what the film really accomplished.
Yeah, you really did appreciate it after watching it. Yeah. It's like, wow. All right, thank you, Carlos, so much for showing me the insights to wrestling. I think it's time I see the real thing up close and personal.
I think you're ready.
Let's do it. So my main takeaways from this is that wrestling is real. It doesn't get realer than that. Yes, there's some planning that goes into it to avoid risk of injury and to provide entertainment and tell a story whilst on stage. But all the work that you see on the stage is half of it, because the real work is BTS. Period! I feel like the wrestling industry has really, truly come a long way. I watched wrestling growing up, and I used to beat up my brothers, and I was the heavyweight world champion of my household. So seeing it up close and personal, not from like a TV screen, being in the ring, just seeing the amount of work and effort that it takes to even be able to step in the ring, like, it's very demanding on your physical and your mental. I think it's safe to say I'm officially a wrestling expert. Thank you all for tuning in, and all I have to say now is go check out Iron Claw. Don't lack.